Greetings, and thank you for exploring the new Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department and Community Center. My name is Chief Shannon Stallings, and I will be narrating your tour. Our goal is to continue to provide sustainable fire, rescue, EMS, and marine services to the citizens and visitors of Eastern Baltimore County and maintain the ability to add or accommodate additional resources and personnel as necessary. The Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department, originally established during the war years, offered much more than emergency response. Our organization was the social hub of the community. We often hosted more community events and fundraisers than we ran emergency calls. Our organization was established by our community members. Many had no idea of what it meant to run a business. Bingos and dinners were the highlight of their dealings. The way we ran things sustained our organization for many years. These were successful years. Let's fast forward to today. Call volume is through the roof. Training is dramatically more demanding. Everything is expensive, very expensive. It's a struggle to get our younger members to participate in anything but training and responses, as their training and responses are extremely demanding. Their core values are different. Fewer young families participate in traditional fundraisers. Few want to join our organization. Technology has the world moving at lightning speed. We can easily agree that everything has changed. We must capitalize off of our effort. All of our talents are valuable. However, with limited time and limited personnel, every move we make must count. There's absolutely no room for setbacks, as our efforts and the hopes of others counting on us may burn out. If we are going to be successful at fundraising, recruitment, and retention, we must consistently show progress and move at a gazelle's intensity. We cannot afford to lose community or membership enthusiasm. While our pride and legacy may be telling one story, a modernization and relocation is logically the best option for our communities and our future. Many factors were considered upon deciding to relocate the fire station. The predominant considerations include the long-term sustainability of the volunteer fire service in Eastern Baltimore County, overall financial savings to Baltimore County taxpayers, strategic planning with the comprehensive zoning and mapping process and the Baltimore County 2030 Master Plan. We must also align with the operations of the Baltimore County 911 system, including introduction of an EMS transport service, as well as 24-hour staffing of firefighting units in the region. Did you know that if a volunteer station is not staffed, they may not receive a call for service? Modern 911 systems do not recognize the ability for community responders to respond to your emergency from home and will skip a fire station for the closest station with 4 personnel on duty, regardless of how far away that station is. To prevent being skipped by the dispatch system, your Bowleys Quarters volunteers had units on duty over 17,500 hours in 2024, only placing units out of service for training or maintenance. Our current station is not NFPA or ADA compliant, making it difficult for those with special needs to volunteer their time or to visit our facility. But ultimately, we want to continue to maximize community access and benefit, which is a legacy function of the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department. With the modernization of the 911 system and the increasing demands of the community, our existing facility cannot keep up with the task. The existing station consists of a 78-year-old community access building that dates back to 1947, a rundown residential style home designed to accommodate a family of 4 that was modified as a crew quarters for staffing of up to 14 personnel that is not connected to the apparatus area, and the apparatus is housed in an overcrowded steel building, and there is no room for unit expansion or new services such as an ambulance or EMS transport unit. We are currently keeping units outside, which is drastically reducing the longevity of which a unit can remain in service. None of the buildings we have qualify as resilient structures and are just one hurricane away from not existing. In the upper left-hand photo, you can see the crowded conditions in our apparatus area. The upper right-hand photo is an image showing limited space in the spring, summer, and fall. Keep in mind that in the winter months, 2 boats, 22-foot and 32-foot, and their trailers are added to the floor plan, further crowding the area. The bottom row of photos shows our current crew quarters. 2,200 square foot space originally designed for a family of four that has been modified to accommodate up to 14 personnel. You will see the lack of ADA required entrances as well as a cluttered kitchen. Our crews are not messy. There's simply no other place to store the items on the counter. Now imagine being asked to volunteer your time overnight. We have committed an area for our members to sleep with their heads inches from the feet of their crewmates. The most common question we receive is, why don't you rebuild at your current location? The simple answer is, we can't. To get into more detail, the current station is located within the 100-year floodplain that often causes significant loss during coastal flooding and tropical weather events. The grounds have proven to be unstable, visible by the sinking and cracking of the structures and the parking surfaces. The existing station cannot be raised and reconstructed in the same location due to environmental regulations, zoning, and setbacks. The existing station sustained irreversible damage as a result of Tropical Storm Isabel in 2003 and never recovered. The decision to relocate a fire station did not come easy and required a lot of preparation dating well before 2019. Here's a quick recap of what has transpired in the past 5 years. In anticipation of modernization and relocation, the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department worked alongside a corporate law attorney to produce an easily expandable constitution and bylaws to reflect a modern nonprofit organization and still hold close parallels between corporate and traditional fire department structure. The first action was a dismissal of legacy practices and instituting the new constitution, bylaws, and business plan that reflect the modern nonprofit. This had a focus on an expandable leadership team to account for growth. We looked at strategic recruitment and retention of both first responders and business leaders, and we instituted donor management programs and software, thus passing operational savings to Baltimore County government and the constituents thereof. In 2020, we established a standard operating procedure for strategic and organic recruiting of future first responders and leaders. We also established retention programs and candidate follow up with merit rewards and achievable advancement goals. Since implementing the changes, we've seen a 68% increase in certified first responders and a 250% increase in initial certified training enrollments. We've also seen a 12% increase in support services members. In 2021, the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department purchased a final parcel of land at a strategic location in our Legacy District to construct a combined fire station and community center. This completed a $1.2 million land acquisition. Following the land acquisition, Mann's Woodward Studios, a well-respected architectural firm, was retained to design a facility to accommodate our current operation, community access and outreach, and immediate expansion, including the addition of additional fire department personnel, units, and resources as necessary. 2022, we began taking our plans to the community. The Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department engaged the community through associations and civic organizations to seek input and support on a relocated fire station and community center with overwhelming support. 9 different community associations or civic organizations are in the primary or secondary service areas of the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department. In 2023, Mann's Woodward Studios completed a needs assessment and a massing diagram of a modern fire station and community center. The relocation plans were presented to the Baltimore County Volunteer Firefighters Association, and the association unanimously approved the relocation of the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department. Following the approval to relocate by the Baltimore County Volunteer Firefighters Association, the request was elevated to Baltimore County government. With several volunteer fire stations in Baltimore County considering either consolidation or relocation, the Baltimore County Fire Department completed a deployment study to justify fire station locations and the disbursement of resources. In 2025, Baltimore County Fire Department reviewed the data relevant to the relocation of the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department and determined that there would be no adverse effects to relocating the station, but would improve response times and capabilities in the area. The request to relocate was approved with the understanding that there is no financial commitment on behalf of Baltimore County government or the Baltimore County Fire Department. Introducing the future home of the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department to be located at 129 Carroll Island Road in Middle River, Maryland. In choosing the location, the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department utilized emergency response data for the communities at which they serve. They looked at centralizing between their existing district and areas of growth. They conducted a study on the demographics of people most likely to volunteer, and they considered the proximity to existing personnel. In addition, the new location of the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department should be considered a proactive move to all future growth considerations. The comprehensive zoning and mapping process has been completed. The Lafarge property, unknown when, will likely be developed. Zoning is now heavy industrial for a small segment of the property. The rest is zoned RC8 with an overlay of Eco Park, designating that 60% or 200 acres must be preserved and that 40% or 100 acres can be developed. Next is the eastern expansion of the Greenlee properties. Approximately 3,000 homes, condominiums, and/or apartments, of which are affordable housing or planned urban development, is a primary scope of this expansion. Recently, Baltimore County entered into an aid agreement with the Maryland National Guard Fire Department from Martin State Airport to respond to incidents in this area of growth due to the lack of adequate fire protection. The 85-acre property of the former CP Crane power plant is set to be developed as a passive use park, another automatic inclusion into our service area. Finally, new weight restrictions from Benji's Road to Ebenezer Road are now in effect. All truck traffic coming from this area will now enter through the Eastern Avenue corridor. This opens the door to more motor vehicle collisions in an already congested, saturated corridor. This corridor is serviced by the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department. Additional primary response apparatus and a centralized facility will be necessary to properly serve this area due to the growth. The new location will improve the ability to service several peninsulas having complex routes of travel due to the shoreline. This includes primary responses to the Bowleys Quarters and Carroll Island peninsulas, as well as secondary responses to the Chase and Wilson Point peninsulas. Perhaps the greatest advantage of the new station location is that the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department will be closer to 70% of their existing primary territory calls for service, and all calls for service outside of their primary territory, resulting in shorter overall response times. Marine response will also be improved by a proposed emergency services pier at the new CP Crane Park site. We understand that some of you may not be geographically savvy and fully understand the complex routes of travel when accessing the peninsulas. Check out the simple graphic of how station relocation benefits our surrounding communities. One could say we are placing an improved emergency response in the palm of our hands. The site chosen also has outstanding benefits for the community. 3 acres will be utilized for a proposed building in an impervious area to accommodate all apparatus and personnel needs of a modern fire station integrated community center. The property offers approximately 8 acres in addition to a 2-acre parcel of the existing station site to be committed to critical bay conservation to preserve the coastal rural legacy of the community. It is our goal to reserve 1 acre for a children's playground and the nature trail throughout the area of conservation. With an elevation also outside of the 500-year floodplain, removes the threat of damages from flooding and tropical events. This site is also buffered from residential units, but still centralized between bedroom communities. Let's move on to station design. Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department has chosen Mans Woodward Studios, which is a nationally recognized architectural firm specializing in the design of public safety and community-driven facilities and campuses. The selected architectural firm has completed 250 public safety projects for 75 different agencies. This includes 125 fire rescue and EMS facilities with 8.2 million square feet of first responder space. Mans Woodward Studios has received 25 National Public Safety Design Awards. Here are some of their local and regional designs, including fire stations in White Marsh, Upperco, Lutherville, and Mechanicsville, Maryland. During the needs assessment, it was determined what apparatus the station would need to house. In addition, the station would need to be NFPA compliant, compliant with the American with Disabilities Act, have Tier 1 and Tier 2 decontamination capabilities for the first responders and their equipment, be located outside of the floodplain, have the availability to overnight 14 personnel, including a live in facility, have a fitness center and training facility, with a dedicated annex for aquatic rescue training, and an integrated community center. Level 1 Operations. This is where the day to day operations of the fire company will commence. As you enter the facility, you will move into an open lobby museum that is rich in community history and fire department history. Immediately adjacent to the lobby is an emergency operations center and conference room, which will be available to law enforcement and fire department agencies, as well as available to small scale community meetings. Also located on the first floor will be a kitchen and dining area for 14 personnel with a separate lounge or day room. A small area will be reserved as a study or quiet space. A common bunk room for 1816 personnel will provide overnight accommodations for our transient members. The apparatus area is designed to house one EMS transport unit or ambulance, one fire engine, one ladder truck or heavy rescue, one brush unit or wildland firefighting capable vehicle, one utility vehicle that can tow a boat, one special unit to tow a marine unit, and one special unit high water rescue truck. Let's not forget the storage and maintenance areas for maintaining the apparatus. 68% of firefighters will be diagnosed at some point in their lifetime with cancer. Firefighters have a 9% higher risk of developing cancer and a 14% higher risk of dying from cancer than the general population. This includes your active BQ volunteers. A technical decontamination area is mandated by the National Fire Protection Agency for the purpose of reducing occupational cancers as well as other occupational risks. Our current station does not have a technical decontamination area. Such areas include proper ventilation, cleaning and decontamination equipment, and isolation from the crew quarters and other areas of the fire station. While firefighters are at a high risk for cancer, the number one cause of firefighter line of duty fatalities in the United States is cardiac related emergencies. It is imperative that we provide physical fitness accommodations to all first responders. In order to be safe, fast, and efficient during emergency responses, an appropriate training facility is necessary to hone and maintain the skills of your first responders. Functioning as a surface water rescue technician or an inland rescue swimmer is considered a high risk, low frequency event. It is imperative that we have an appropriate training environment for regional certification of our rescue swimmers. This facility will be multi-jurisdictional as there is no other facility in our immediate region to conduct this type of training and education. When exploring the second floor, you will find the administration and community access areas. After entering through the first floor lobby and taking the elevator to the second floor, you will travel down a short corridor to the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department corporate offices. Also on the second floor is the Multipurpose Community Center. This will be a primary meeting and education room with a divisible partition capable of up to two 36-person classrooms or a 100-person auditorium-style room. This area will be available to community associations, recreation councils, early childhood and senior programs, or private enterprises and events. This space can also be used as a temporary shelter during community flooding events. Adjacent to the Community Multipurpose Center, you will find 4 community offices. These community offices will be utilized to bring resources closer to the community. An example of use for the community offices are perhaps a police outpost, an office for the local rec council, a food and community resource pantry, or a councilmatic district office. The needs of the community will determine how the offices are utilized. A concept that was founded in Prince George's County, Maryland. Live-in dormitories have statistically proven to be successful in boosting recruitment and retention. An example of a live-in would be a college student who happens to be a first responder. This college student could exchange services to the community for room and board to be closer to their college. While the private dorms will be similar to a hotel room, they are no substitution for a home environment. Welcome to Charlotte Station, an interactive public fire safety education center focused on youth. This children's exploratory room will feature interactive learning stations and a media center. The mission behind Charlotte Station is to educate preschool through elementary age students on public fire safety education and to help build trust within the community. In addition, Charlotte Station will serve as an interactive place where personnel can bring their kids while they're in meetings or training. A place where we can retain part time, credentialed early childhood workers during those hours to ensure that our children have a place to go and a place of being included. Too often, volunteers resign from service because they lack the ability to continuously retain childcare. Charlotte Station would greatly increase volunteer productivity and participation. Thank you for sticking with us and following along with our tour. As we move forward, this is where we really need you to pay attention. While it seems as though we are moving right along, there has been a considerable delay in receiving our relocation approvals. Now that we have our approvals, we are counting on the community to help us influence local government to fund and support the project and also to support our capital campaign. As you can see from the graph, we are seeking a considerable contribution from Baltimore County government, as well as support from state and federal grants and local community contributions. As we move forward in this presentation, we will do our best to justify why Baltimore County government should financially support the relocation of the Bowleys Quarters Fire Station. This sign stands outside of the county courthouse in Towson. We believe there is an outstanding message on this sign, so please take a moment and read through it carefully. In 1855, $30,000 was an extreme amount of money. We are sure at that time of construction the county had plenty of opposition and discussion on committing the funds to build the building. If you amortize out the cost of construction on the courthouse over the life the courthouse has existed, you can see the return on investment. The courthouse construction has cost the county $176 for every year it has existed. Now I know what you're thinking. We're not building a fire station out of marble and limestone. But follow along as we put into perspective the modern day return on investment. First, we need to understand what happens if we do nothing. Well, our existing station continues to deteriorate. Crew morale deteriorates from overcrowding. Apparatus is subject to damages from close quarters and flooding. The expansion of services is limited. The cost of constructing new continues to rise, and the continued cost of continuous renovation and remediation will require significant capital funding from Baltimore County. The building may not survive the next coastal flooding or hurricane event. It is also important to know that the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department is currently and historically one of the top performing volunteer fire companies in Baltimore County. In the past 10 years, the fire company has maintained a stellar response rate while annual calls for service have increased by 99.48%. In the history of our organization, we have never been on a dual dispatch status with the 911 system requiring an immediate backup as a result of failing or poor performance rates. Since the implementation of the modern 911 system, all Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department units have remained on duty unless out of service for training or maintenance, thus leading to a 100% response rate to calls for service in our immediate community. In addition, our department has responded to a unit over 1,600 times in the past 5 years in place of another volunteer fire company's unit that either failed to respond or was off duty, proving dependability and the ability to handle increasing call volumes. Eastern Baltimore County is experiencing significant growth. Failing to invest in the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department will create a service deficit in an area of growth in Eastern Baltimore County, demanding the next career station be built. Now let's take a look at the staffing Baltimore County would have to provide across 4 shifts to replace the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department. The staffing includes 56 personnel assigned. 4 captains, 8 fire lieutenants, 4 EMS lieutenants, 12 fire apparatus drivers and operators, 8 fire specialists, 4 paramedic first class, 12 EMT firefighters, and 4 emergency medical technicians. The positions listed on the previous slide would be utilized to staff 1 fire engine, 1 ladder truck or rescue squad, 1 special operations unit, 1 EMS supervisor, and 1 transport unit for 4 shifts. This graph shows how the salaries are dispersed amongst the career staffing. This is based on Baltimore County Pay Scale 5. By taking the base salaries for one career fire station and multiplying them by 50% to account for payroll taxes and benefits packages, which we believe to be a conservative estimate, gives a total staffing estimate of $7,441,806 to staff one career station for 1 year. Therefore, we can say a fully staffed Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department saves taxpayers $7.4 million annually. Now let's talk about the bare minimum cost to construct a new career fire station in place of the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department. In our region, in Critical Bay area, we are limited to 31% lot coverage for new construction, which requires a minimum of 9 acres be purchased to develop 3 acres. This equates to a cost of approximately $1.6 million. Include your design, civil, and site fees at an additional $3.5 million, and a lightweight construction of a building at $13.2 million, put the total cost of building a new career station at $19,320,000. If a fully staffed volunteer fire station saves taxpayers $7.4 million annually, and an $18 million municipal bond costs taxpayers $1.4 million annually, the difference is a $6 million return on investment in the first year alone. Now let's take a look at the savings over a 10-year period. Volunteers, unlike career personnel, do not receive compensation for their service. However, career personnel, in addition to their salaries, often see cost of living adjustments. Using an annual 3% cost of living adjustment for the next 10 years, Baltimore County can expect to pay $87,120,000 to staff a career station. Now we deduct the $13,980,000 investment into a volunteer station. The volunteer staffing will then save Baltimore County taxpayers approximately $73,140,000 in a 10-year window. In a publication released by the U.S. Fire Administration regarding recruitment and retention for the volunteer emergency services, this 148-page document, the word station appeared 48 times. When referencing building conditions, it states these departments have old trucks, unsafe personal protective equipment, and substandard stations. This chart is a representation of the cost of doing nothing. The thin blue line represents volunteerism declining. The red line represents the need to add additional career staffing. As the need to add additional career staffing rises, so does the demand for a career station. Now let's look at what happens when we construct a station earlier in the timeline. Stimulating a place for the responders to feel safe and to provide their service reduces the need to add career staffing. Essentially, we are asking Baltimore County to invest in the areas in the red for the financial savings in the green. Now let's say the plan doesn't work, and we stimulate volunteerism for several years, and then it begins to decline once again. By investing early into the fire station, we've deferred the cost of building it later. And we've also delayed the need to hire career staffing and the increased salaries that comes with it. We still save taxpayers by investing in the red area to save the area in the green. The key takeaways from this presentation are as follows. The attendance status is the future of the volunteer fire companies. Our personnel and staffing model has evolved. However, our facility has not, and it cannot keep up with the task. Far less than the cost of constructing and staffing a new career station, Baltimore County can assist in funding this project, save millions annually in salary, decrease subsidy, and provide an improved 911 response to Eastern Baltimore County. If you believe in the mission of the Bowleys Quarters Volunteer Fire Department, we need your voice heard. Please attend the 5th District Town Hall meeting March 19th, 2025 at the Perry Hall High School. The meeting will begin approximately 6 p.m. If you cannot attend the meeting, please make your position known by emailing townhall@baltimorecountymd.gov. And as always, we thank you for your support.